Welcome to the MD channel. My name is Lorena. I'm your host. And yesterday, wow, we tried to go live, but you know what? Our internet, it cut out and we had to cut it short. Unfortunately, it just snapped off. Yesterday was interesting. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you're in Canada and you had Rogers yesterday, cell phones, those were also out. Internet was intermittent. So what I was saying was, during this pandemic with myasthenia gravis, particular, and you can also with psoriatic arthritis and the rashes, those will also start up again with stress. Stress plays a big factor in a lot of people's lives, so it is something that we do have to consider. I mean, it can cause you to have other health concerns. I know when I was going through a lot of stress earlier in my life, I ended up with, having to have my appendix removed and my gallbladder, and it was just getting insane until I learned how to use humor, actually, is a good way to help relieve stress, believe it or not. Humor for me works really, really well. And you can do that by watching things that have humor that help bring and lift yourself. I do this in many ways, but I do try to have a very positive attitude when it comes to life in general, and that's what helps to keep me healthy and de-stressed. I really wanted to share with you some other things to just taking a moment for yourself, whether that be, maybe a long bath. Remembering that with myasthenia gravis, too hot for too long is going to cause some problems for you as well. But it's just a way to take a moment for yourself, whatever that is for de-stressing. Here we've got Patches coming into view here. Thanks, Patch. um, it's really about you and about finding what works for you. I know even I like to go, and I know this is hard during the pandemic because we don't always have access to this. I like to go to the hairdresser, not even just to get a haircut, but just to have my hair washed. Doesn't that feel great when they're rubbing your scalp? I almost fall asleep. I love that. Um, but finding those things that help you to de stress is imperative, because actually, stress can make you a lot more weak than you think. So that's why I wanted to talk about stress today and how to de stress. And there is different things you can do. You do have to watch some teas. Like echinacea and things like that. There are some teas that are contravene with myasthenia gravis. I have found though that high manganese teas really work well because manganese is a good balancer for myasthenia gravis. It helps reduce um, the effects of myasthenia, but it also, if you have any kind of arthritis, it helps reduce the effects of the arthritis as well, the pain. So my particular tea, and I've talked about this before on the show, is I like to have um, a mix of stinging nettle, which is high in manganese, and mullein, as well as I like to throw a few rose hips in there. It's high in vitamin C and D, helping to keep you safe from the pandemic. Remember, if you're low on D, you're going to be much more susceptible to catching COVID or having worse COVID if you already have it, because vitamin D helps to keep away any virus, really, not just COVID. It helps you fight those things. So, I'm here in Canada, so we're naturally low in D. So taking vitamin D is kind of a standard, because we have low light levels for 50% of the year where I live. So de stressing, again, back to this because, it is so important. I find when my stress levels get high, I have lots of things that start to happen. Patches again. I have lots of things that start to happen, and I start to feel really loggy. I don't want to do things. I start to get very, where I'm not focused. And once you start getting that fuzzy brain with myasthenia, you know what I mean. Your focus, you just can't remember things. You're feeling very, very tired. Um, and also that's when you have a greater chance of lashing out at the ones you love as well, because you can't think. And anybody who can't think is going to, they're asking you questions and coming at you with things, and you're just not dealing as well as you normally would, right? When you're having these issues. So my recommendation to you is that's when you take a step back. And it's hard to think of this, right? But even just a few minutes, sit down, have something balanced. Remember, you need a sugar and you need um, a carb and you need a protein. So try to figure that out so it's something you can swallow. But you need those three things because you're going to need a fast sugar. Then you need an intermittent sugar, which is the carbohydrate, because it'll convert to sugar. And then you're going to need a protein to kind of hold it there, right? So for longer lasting effect. And it doesn't have to be a lot of food, it just needs to be a balanced amount of food, so that you can then just sit down and then within about 20 minutes, it's almost like taking medication, really. And I found even like, I don't know if you have hemp seed, raw hemp seed in your area, but if you have also a little bit of high blood pressure going on, a tablespoon of hemp seed within 15 to 20 minutes, you know, those pressure headaches you can get from the high blood pressure, it can help relieve some of that naturally without having to take any medication. And that's really about what it is because whenever you take medication, and I'm not talking about just the myasthenia gravis medication, I'm talking about like, things for headaches and things like that. There's always something else that can happen, right? Because when you're on medication, for instance, when you're taking something like anti-inflammatories, did you know that there is components in that that can also cause problems for your myasthenia, and it can cause your vision to vibrate or go blurry, or the double vision that is so much associated with the ocular myasthenia. So it can make it worse. So if there's ways that you can um, tackle these things more naturally, then you have less side effects from the other medications. So it's really important for you to find what works best for you and really listen to your body. I think that's the message we can take. I know that some people with myasthenia like to meditate. I don't really call it meditation. I'll call it the quiet time where you just sit there and kind of zone out for a few minutes and just let yourself think of nothing, really. Taking those times. I mean, I work a lot, and it's important to find the easy button for things with myasthenia gravis because you don't want to overdo yourself. And I know this is a big problem for me because I go through periods of high activity as well. I've lived with this since I was 2 years old. I'm not saying I did everything right. This is not about that. This is about you guys too. I just want to say that, anytime you guys have a question, some of you guys that have newly been diagnosed out there with myasthenia gravis, and it can be overwhelming and quite devastating. But I can tell you there's life after diagnosis. Doesn't matter what age you are. It's a matter of taking control and starting to understand your body. That's the best way to live with myasthenia gravis because some of us are more brittle, especially in the beginning. Unfortunately, a lot of people get diagnosed when they're already, it's gone really far. And it's devastating news. Really, that I mean, they finally get their diagnosis and they're, well, at least we know what's going on. But the stress of it actually makes it worse, right? Because myasthenia is impacted by stress. So, again, back to the stress levels and finding ways to distress yourself and understanding your body and finding natural ways to do this. I've been seeing a lot of information about people taking marijuana for myasthenia gravis, and I can tell you that drugs or alcohol both impact you. I'm not going to say don't do it, but I'm going to say be cautionary. I know that marijuana is quite strong, and any of those things can really impact somebody with myasthenia gravis. You're a lot more fragile when it comes to any kind of drug. I don't care if it's natural or not. You have to really listen to your body because when you go into a tailspin with myasthenia gravis, it's really hard to pull out sometimes. So listen to that body. Find natural ways to help yourself. Like I said, the stinging nettle tea with mullein and rosehip. Now, I just want to say the reason for that is the manganese. Okay, so and the anti-inflammatory properties that brings. This is kind of important news because this is really based on stuff they've done. There was a study done in England for myasthenia gravis, and it was after the war, and all those people that were coming out of concentration camps were exhibiting signs of myasthenia gravis. And what they did was is they gave them a raw food diet. Now, raw food doesn't mean everything's raw, but it does mean like things like vegetables and I think uncooked, so that you get the maximum amount of nutrients. And they were giving them manganese. Now, cautionary: too much manganese is not good for you. It's not like your Bs, where if you have too much B12 or whatever, in you, or the multivitamins, that you just pee it out. It's not like that. So you want to make sure you're not overdoing the manganese, but getting it from natural sources, you will always be okay. So, like I said, stinging nettle, mullein, they both contain manganese. There's other things that do, like spinach, like black olives, like avocados. There's lots of great ways to get your manganese, and you can go on Google there, and you can Google it up to see what other vegetables contain. Most dark leafy greens have manganese, which is good news. Um, so you want to find the sources that more appealing to you, and this will actually help your myasthenia gravis, but it'll also help you if you have any kind of arthritis issues. It's really a great nutrient to take from a natural source. I know with myasthenia gravis, one of the problems is you don't absorb as well. And if you're starting to feel tired a lot, you might want to you might want to bolster the amount of manganese you're taking. I know I periodically will also take the tablets that contain it too, just to bring it up, but I won't do that for more than 3 days in a row within a 2-week period, just because I don't want to overdo it. But I do want to maintain, pain free in my joints, as well as staying as, uh, uh, you know, not tired as possible. Also, it helps with the stress levels, right? Because if you're less tired, you're going to be more on it, and you're going to be able to tackle your day better. Um, I am now a grandmother, and I had 6 kids. So you can feel free to ask me any questions about trying to get through pregnancy or any of these things. It's really, um, like I found with my myasthenia, anyways, uh, the first year after having a baby is always the most difficult. I was quite tired. Also, in my case, I lost my night vision, but it all returned later. It just took some time. So I just wanted to say that you can ask any questions around that as well, or getting through childhood with myasthenia gravis. Um, and childhood is actually more difficult because um, the child isn't knowing to understand their body, and of course they would be governed by usually a doctor about how much medication they get. And of course, if you overdo the medication, it's like you didn't take it at all, so you can end up in that same state. So too much medication, also you continue with your crisis. Everybody calls it something different. Our community is here. Feel free to chat with us about myasthenia gravis and how this impacts you. And if you have any questions and things that you would like to hear about, I actually did hear from one lady over in BC. She wanted to talk about dental. Mm. It's amazing how myasthenia gravis actually impacts so many different facets of your life. And one of those things is any type of surgery, dental surgery, and certain types of anesthetics, of course, right? So she wanted to know, was it safe? And it is safe as long as the dentist knows you have myasthenia gravis, because certain anesthetics can cause more problems than other ones. So at least they're prepared, and they're giving you the right one, and they're fully aware of what you have. It has to do with the contravening medications, and there really is such a big list of them. So, you want to always be armed with information. So, I entreat you, if they're going to give you a new medication or a new anesthetic, that you look it up for yourself. You are your own best advocate here. I can't tell you enough. Like, I have been in the face of doctors that were honest. Okay, they were honest and had an honest conversation with me about where I'm at and about the medication or whatever procedure they wanted to do. But I've also been in the presence of doctors that wanted to um, just control the whole situation, like they know everything and you know nothing, and really that's not the reality. um, you are your best advocate. I cannot stress enough. So you need to take ownership of your own body, and you need to help yourself, right? So, but we're here to help you with that as well. So if you have any questions, remember this is all about you, and and how you're coming through this pandemic and your myasthenia gravis, and of course having a better life. Um, it is not the end of the world having myasthenia gravis. Generally speaking, most people um, eventually learn how to deal with it and then have a quasi normal life. I'm definitely very positive and have enjoyed my life and have never let it hold me back. And I came from a place where my doctor basically said to my mom that, she may never have children, she may never work, she may never get married, all of these things, right? Because if I can't have children, then who would want to marry me? That was way back when. I'm 52, right? So I just said, you know what? That's not happening. I did gymnastics, I swam, I danced, I got married, I had children, I'm a grandmother, and I have a career. Um, so, you don't need to let all of that hold you back. It's just a matter of finding the right balance for you. I'm not saying I did it all right. I didn't. You can ask my husband. But you know what? I definitely tried and endeavored to be positive through this entire thing. Um, and we're all just human. So that's it for this time talking about stress with myasthenia gravis. And next time, actually, we're going to talk a little bit more about contravening medication. But I do want to hear from you if you have any questions or anything you'd like to talk about. That would be fantastic. Again, this is Lorena with the MG channel, and I'm looking forward to talking to you guys. We are going to be going live much more regularly now. And sorry for the hiatus, guys, and looking forward to chatting. So if you want to hear more from me, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell notification because that way you'll know when the new videos are coming out. That's all for now. Thank you. Bye.